ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. Come on, baby, higher.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Check this out, we got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's great to be back this week, Tuesday, February 25th already, Saturday, March 1st. Let the madness begin, the rest of the regular season in the NCAAs, and of course the conference championships, and then boom, bang, boom, March Madness here. Great show today. Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks at Wager Talk will be here to talk about his experience at the Boston Garden, where he was there live with his dad. I am so jealous to witness Canada overtime win. Connor McDavid, almost like it was scripted. Huh? I know it's not, but my point is, if we could have pre-flop said USA Canada overtime McDavid, that sounds pretty catchy. So anyways, that was great there as well. Around 10:50-ish, the NCAA Insiders, hopefully 4 men in a box, if not maybe 3. I know Q and Nick plan to be there. Hopefully Matt can get there as well. So first and foremost, as always, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download that app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber, Holly, Jay Berry, Matt, the list is endless. Just download the app and we'll take good care of you, I promise. Viva Tequila Seltzer, 6 flavors in all. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconuts. And save the best for last, Atlanta Steaks and Seafood. Terry Smith, if you're not following him, head on over to Facebook and follow him. I had the most amazing cowgirl steak last night. OMG, he's the best in the business. Head on over to atlantasteaksandseafood.com. Go right through the menu there: steaks, chops, seafood, appetizers, wines, the best in the business. 4 subscription plans as well. Start eating healthy. Hey, if you didn't do it in January, you didn't do it in February, well, it's grill season. Get ready for March. 4 subscription plans and all. Set it and forget it. Check a box every 30 days. Presto bango. There it is, right there from atlantasteaksandseafood.com. So without further ado, Mr. Andrew McInnis. What's up, Andrew?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Feeling rested. Feeling rested. I'm slowly getting my voice back. I kept on telling people I'm not sick. I just lost my voice, and it was like 4 days ago I lost it. Still trying to get it back, but we're inching closer to getting it back. But I'm really motivated right now, Jeff. Excited. Sometimes all it takes is obviously an amazing moment and trip that was so short but so electric, like the one I was on, and getting to see that great game that I'm ready for this second half of the season, or I guess the second, the last third of the season, whatever we might be calling it here in the NHL, because sometimes you need a little reset. Some of the hockey players, they went away to Mexico for a week. They came back and scored a few goals. Well, I feel like I had a proper reset away from the desk, away from the office for a couple of days, and looking forward to having a real good run with the NHL. And, we had the Capitals team total over 3.5 on Saturday. We actually ended up passing on Sunday. And last night, the Kings on the money line get it done for me. So far, so good.
Well, before we dive into a huge slate tonight, maybe a quick little talk on the futures market. And of course, want to dig into tonight's slate. Take us back. Wheels, you kind of juggled the schedule. Was going to come in on Wednesday, said to hell with it. Let's come in on Thursday. Let's walk right into the Garden. Let's drop our bags, get into the game. Maybe check out a college hockey game on Friday, or hang out in the city there. Take us up through the Garden, seats, and the game.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit of a risky move doing that change of the scheduling there, but the reason being for it was that we wanted to avoid our original flight back home, which was 8 a.m. In Boston to get home. The day after the game, because we know we were going to be such a long day traveling, so much time celebrating, even if they didn't win, just the great experience. So we changed the flights. But I'll tell you, the flight got delayed by a half an hour, and there was just panic on everybody's eye. Because, Jeff, it was a really cool experience seeing not just myself, a ton of people with Team Canada jerseys at the airport. It was like one of the last flights out to Boston from Halifax, and many people are either saying, are you going to the game, or I'll see you at the game, and we're all talking about it and getting excited. There were 2 people at the airport that had a small little tiny little cinch bag, small little bag. They said that they were at work together, and they said they cannot miss out on a moment like this. They didn't even tell their wives. They were mid-30s, didn't even tell their wives. They said, we're packing up. They went home, they grabbed their passport and their jerseys, went to the airport. They got a hotel booked, the cheapest one they could find, for one night, and they flew home on that 8 a.m. flight I was telling you we were going to go out on. So just the second I get to the airport, from the very start, it was just fun vibes, because you could feel it then, and it was just like that national pride. Everybody's excited about the game, no matter where you are. But yeah, we get to the hotel, we drop off the luggage, just had a little bag each of us, and we decided not to go to a bar before the game. We kind of walked around and soaked in the atmosphere as you were texting me, telling me how the streets are bumping. But I was excited because I had kept on telling my dad that we were in section 304, but little did he know that we were in section 4. So it was a really cool surprise for him to he kept on asking people questions. Hey, where's this? We're trying to get over here. And then I had yanked his arm and told him that we were in the lower bowl, and he was shocked. So it was really exciting. We went to see our seats first, and then went and got a few drinks and snack, and then, just high-fiving strangers. Like, that's the cool thing, is like, whether you're cheering for a team or obviously your country. Like, when I go to Montreal, I might not be from Montreal, but there's no professional team where I live. So I'm high-fiving a bunch of strangers that I don't even know. And we feel like we're on one team. I will say, I couldn't ask for a better group of people I was around at the game. I get there, and there's probably a guy, I would say similar age to me, sitting behind me with his girlfriend. And then he's got some buddies to the right and left of him. And they're into it. Like, you can tell he's into it. You can tell he's going to be funny to sit by, because he's just like me. Like, he doesn't want them to lose, Team USA. He's yelling out all kinds of stuff. But everybody kept it very respectful. Like, it was very respectful. Like, it was like, people were yelling out stuff about, this guy's diving or this guy, this guy, people were, the USA chants, my dad and I yelling Canada, but there was 2 rows down from us, a family of 5, all wearing Canadian jerseys. 2 rows behind us, a couple people, every time that Canada scored, this guy would poke me and then high five me when Canada scored. So that was super exciting. And just the camaraderie, like the people coming together, like the Johnny Hockey chants, like that made me feel awesome hearing that. Obviously they're cheering and chanting for Team USA, but for the hockey community to come together and cheer on Johnny Hockey, that was pretty cool. And one thing I'll say is that it was really exciting for me that where I was sitting, we only got to see them shoot right in front of me on like Canada's offense once. Obviously it flips back and forth every period. So then my dad says to me, oh man, the overtime is going to be in our end. And so right below us, and I have to give credit because that I'll always take shots at Maple Leaf players whenever I can. Mitch Marner was one of the best players in that game for Team Canada. Not one, but 2 great passes, great assists. And he had the assist on the game-winning goal to Connor McDavid. And my dad and I look at each other just stunned. Like, they left this guy wide open? Connor McDavid is wide open in front of the net. Couldn't believe that. But you called it. It was going to be a great game. It's going to be a very close game. And I think the whole world wanted overtime. I'm happy we didn't fast forward through. But as you said, we probably could have just fast forwarded through the first 3 periods because you knew we were going to get 2-2 or 3-3 overtime. And for what it's worth, we did have a pretty good tournament, and I kept it pretty simple, stupid. First period over, went 7-0 in the tournament. I was talking to you about that. I was like, do I take Canada? Do I take the first period? So just an unbelievable experience, really was. And then afterwards, there was one bar. Every bar was pretty friendly. One bar, we tried to get in. They said, no, we're at capacity. We saw a bunch of people in there with USA jerseys on. And then 2 seconds later, my dad and I are walking away. And then behind us, 3 people wearing USA jerseys try to get into the bar. And he goes, come on in, come on in. And then a girl comes out of the bar and says, you guys aren't welcome in there. That's what she says to us. But other than that, it was super friendly. And we went to the greatest bar after. And that was a fun vibe. We were upstairs listening to all the rock music and things like that. And then after the game, actually, Jeff, we didn't want to leave the concourse. Like, I've never stayed around an arena for so long. Usually when the game's over, you go home. You get your car, you go out and have a drink. Like, there were Canadian fans flooding the lower bowl, just singing "Oh Canada," all these chants. And funny enough, my dad and I forgot to get a picture together down by the glass. And guess of all people who takes the picture for us? Sidney Crosby's mom and sister took our picture.
Well, to be honest with you, it was an amazing tournament, and it was the perfect time in NBA on break. NFL in the rearview mirror, pitchers and catchers reporting, perfect spot. We talked about it pre-flop, grab, USA plus 165, Canada plus 165. Hope they meet, hold hands, sing kumbaya. The actual day of the game, the numbers screamed Canada. Also the under screamed. And I'm not taking victory laps. I'm not touting myself here, but I could not help but to keep bringing up the fact that Jordan Bennington was there before in the game 7, big underdogs against the Bruins, and won the Stanley Cup. And I'm telling you, he did it to you in the first game. He stood on his head in overtime. And I'm telling you, there was a 3-minute stretch where the USA was barraging and peppering them. Any one of those could have gone through. He stood on his head. He made the saves when he had to. And then, as you said, the rest is history.
It's almost like I'm taking it for granted. I can't believe I didn't mention that. It was crazy. Like he made saves not just in overtime, but through the 5-on-5 or through the the first 3 periods in regulation. But funny enough, because I was texting my buddies back home saying, I'm so nervous being here. And they said, just enjoy the moment, have fun. And when it got to overtime, Jeff, it's almost like I felt loose and free. I wasn't nervous one bit. I actually felt confident. But as you mentioned, I think, 3 Austin Matthews shots, a Brady Tkachuk shot within the first 2 minutes of overtime, and he makes it look easy. And so that's when it has to come down to, is that if he's going to make that happen, then you need to have your best players go down there and score a goal for you. And, I'll say, like, Makar puts it down the side of the wall to Marner. And one thing people were talking a lot that I didn't realize at first, but I think is pretty cool. The ability for Marner to stop the puck with his skate along the wall the way he did. Because that's actually like a part of hockey that I've never really knew much about. Like I've been hearing people talk a lot more about, is the ability to play along the wall to stop the puck. And he stops that puck. And of all people that left their assignment with McDavid was Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner's teammate over there. But it was exciting. And of course, McKinnon scoring the first goal is, my dad and I, coming from Nova Scotia, we were cheering extra hard for him. And Sidney Crosby, great leader. And, I'm a huge fan of his, but he had a ton of points in the tournament. But I will say this, because I want to be completely honest. I did think he looked a little bit banged up. Like, he did look a little bit slow. And I think, the Penguins, we both, you and I, know where they are right now. We know how important winning this was to Sydney. But in that finals, Jeff, I just found he looked a little bit slow. He looked a little bit kind of shaken up, and he was making the simple plays. And people talk about passing the torch, and I know I'm biased, and I have no problem mentioning it. I think McKinnon's just as good as McDavid, and he was the tournament MVP, and he's showed up in big games consistently. Everyone keeps talking about the passing of the torch. And you look at it like, when Crosby ends up retiring, there's still going to be the McKinnons, the McDavids. Bedard is down the road. Celebrani is down the road. You've got Bedard's cousin, who has 105 points in like 45 games in junior hockey this year. So the future's bright, and I'll tell you, USA hockey is growing as well. It's going to be really exciting, and it's a precursor for the little teaser for the Olympics next year.
Yes, 1 year you get to hold the belt, bragging rights. We'll be back. I think it's in Italy in 2026 for the Winter Olympics. Of course, you and I will be covering all of that leading up to that. We get some time there, so we'll let you hold the belt and trophy and the bragging rights. Hope there's a rematch there at least. My headliner, OVI and the Capitals. Keep the Flames burning. Obviously, they play tonight against the Flames, but Ovi just absolutely on fire. I think 12 away now from passing the great one, Gretzky. This team been flying under the radar all year. Is it time to say, all right, we need to add them to the Eastern Conference and the Stanley Cup to your portfolio?
I think it is, just because, as you mentioned, they just continue to prove people wrong. Their first 2 games out of the All-Star break, dominant, make it look absolutely easy. And, the funny thing, Jeff, I find about the whole Ovechkin chasing the Gretzky record thing is people said, well, that's going to be a distraction. They want to have a good team, not just be good for Ovechkin. But is it just me, or has that actually helped the team be better? It's almost like the media attention and him playing his best hockey. He's on pace for one of his best seasons ever. Like, not just a good season to break the record. He's on pace for a really, really, really good season. And they're getting good support from everybody. And so here's the funny thing. I said at the start of the year that, well, this team's overrated because they're getting too good of goaltending. They can't sustain that. The funny thing is, when their goaltending started to slip, their offense moved forward. So if they're going to score 4 to 6 goals every game, we don't have to worry about them whatsoever. I think they're worth it. However, I do think that one of the wild card teams, one of them, is going to have a shot at making their series really competitive this year in the Eastern Conference. Whether that be Ottawa, whether it be Detroit, whether it be Columbus, New York, whoever it may be, I think that, and of course, the two teams most likely, well, I guess it could be three, would be Florida, Toronto, or Washington. That'll be those number one seeds. I think it's worthy of bringing up the Capitals because you need goaltending in the playoffs. But then once you do that, you can kind of look at it and kind of break down what the odds are going to be. Because I'd be very curious to see Ottawa, Washington. What are the odds in that playoff first round?
OVI, Capitals, big year. Here comes Ottawa back in the playoffs. I think I'd have to have them at least around minus 180.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I do look forward to seeing Brady Tkachuk, though, after what I saw this in that tournament. Seeing that guy in the playoffs will be exciting.
Full slate here. I know you have another show to go to soon. We got about, 7, 8, 9 minutes, however long we want here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games in all. Your Montreal Canadiens currently minus 290 at home against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Bruins minus 1. Toronto. They're at home today, the Bruins, but Toronto minus 150. You can get the Bruins plus 135. Rangers, Islanders, basically a pick 'em at the Islanders. Florida, Nashville. Florida minus 140 at Nashville there. What do your eyes see today?
My eyes are a bit intrigued on the Boston Bruins. They are. I love that series between the Leafs and the Bruins. And, when I look at the last couple meetings between these teams, first of all, we've seen 2 of the 3 meetings this season go over the total. I believe this is the last meeting between them, maybe one more. 4-3, Boston. 4-zip, Toronto. 6-4, Toronto. And when I look at this Maple Leafs team in their game out of the All-Star break, or out of the break, I guess, pure dominance over the Hurricanes, and then second half of back-to-back, they take down the Blackhawks. You're going to get a Bruins team here that aren't going to be too happy. They're going to be a little bit motivated here. And I think, honestly, there's certain teams, Jeff, that needed the reset, certain teams that needed a little bit of a break. I think the Boston Bruins are one of those teams. I also believe that even though Brad Marchand didn't play the biggest role on Team Canada, a lot of those players that were on Team Canada, you look at how they played in their first game back, it wasn't good. We could have taken the Capitals against Sidney Crosby. We could have faded the Colorado Avalanche. Who did they play against? I can't remember who they played against, but I know they lost. They lost to the Blues, and the Edmonton Oilers lost to the Philadelphia Flyers. So a lot of these teams with players that were on Team Canada's roster, they lost their first game back. I think plus 130, we got a live spot here with the Boston Bruins. I think it's a good number here, and I feel like it's almost like that gut punch. They got that punch kind of like to wake up a little bit. Okay, you're back. You lost in overtime to the Anaheim Ducks. Let's wake up here before the GM sells off half our team, because you've been talking about it. This team is going to have to make a decision very soon what they are going to do. So I am curious about that. Edmonton and Tampa. This one's a pick, Jeff. This one, I'm curious your thoughts on this one, but I have to pull the trigger here on the Edmonton Oilers. We saw on Sunday the Lightning cruise to victory. It was nice for Braden Point, Anthony Cirelli, Jake Gensel, for some of those players, Brandon Hagel, to not have to play on Saturday. They got to wait until Sunday to play their first game since the tournament, winning that one 4-1 over the Kraken. But this is an Oilers team that won't be happy. And I'll tell you, as much as I'm an advocate for saying how much I love that the NHL won't do any load management stuff, Connor McDavid was a -3 in his game on Saturday. -3. and then they get their absolute asses kicked against the Washington Capitals. So I'm seeing, I think, plus 120 was the last number that I saw, plus 125, plus 120. That's the team total of the day I'm giving out here on the Breakfast Bankroll, plus 120. Edmonton Oilers versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Jeff, I think this is a really good spot for the Oilers. I want the motivated teams. I want the teams that kind of had to get that wake-up call out of the break. Do we think the Oilers wanted to just drop 2 games out of the break? Absolutely not. But Connor McDavid did just score a game-winning goal for his country. Meanwhile, Draisaitl's probably saying, good for you. You scored that goal. My team wasn't even in there. We got to play hockey here for the Oilers. And so I think they get their captain back. I think they get their team back here in this one. We're seeing a pick on the road. I know the Oilers are a better team, but pick on the road kind of gives me a little bit of a red flag for Tampa. And then, of course, the team total being in that sweet spot that you and I both like at plus 120. So that's one that stood out to me right away. And then Chicago versus Utah. You know, Chicago, God bless them. God bless Chicago, because no matter what happens, no matter how close their games are, Jeff, they just can't find a way to get the job done. You know, they had that game that they had against the Maple Leafs. I promise you, if you look at the scoreboard, it tells you it was a blowout. It wasn't. The game was actually decent in the first half of the game. You look at their loss on Saturday against the Blue Jackets, giving up 5 goals. I mean, it's not pretty for this defense right now. So I like the over in the Utah game. Utah had a low-scoring victory over Vancouver in their first game back. As we can tell, whenever anybody beats the Blackhawks, they put up goals. This might be one of those games that I know you always tell me to pick a team, Jeff. This might be one of those games where I do just take the full game over. We might get some contribution from the Blackhawks, but, you know, over 2.5 minus 110 is kind of intriguing. Over 3.5 minus 140. I'm not interested in that number. Over 6 flat. I think both teams come to dance in this one. Give me the over, or give me the first period over in this one, because I do think this one comes off with a bang. I just think that no matter how hard the Blackhawks try, they're not going to be able to play a defensive game here in this one. Utah needs to win games like this, Jeff, because they're actually currently fighting for a playoff spot. And when you see a team like the Blackhawks on your schedule, I heard Hakeem Prophet and some NBA handicappers talking about this recently. This is the time of year where you can't afford to lose to teams that you're better than. Like when I was talking about the Oilers, at least they lost to the Capitals. At least they lost to a good team, right? You can't lose to the Blackhawks if you're the Utah Hockey Club. You can't do it.
You know, just looking at the board right now, I'm looking for some flips here. Edmonton opened up minus 115 overnight, as you said. Now a pick 'em. Islanders and Rangers opened up a pick 'em. Now Rangers a short favorite, minus 112. Those were the two that flipped. You talked about them. Any prop thoughts before we wrap this up?
I haven't looked too much at the props, Jeff, but I'll say this. I think this is the time of year where you want to be looking at those power play points, because I think you're going to see a lot more chippiness, but you're also going to see the goals come a lot more from the star players. And as much as I always talk about depth being an important part of hockey, I think this is the kind of time of the year where the big players show up consistently. They need the big players. They're getting more ice time now. They just got back from a break. Like, there's some teams that they've got their best players out there for like the first minute and a half of that power play. So some of these power play points are going to be pretty interesting to look towards. And I think that overall, when you're looking at these point props, especially, don't be scared to look at the assists. Don't be scared to look at a certain player to get an assist. And I'm going to take a look at the we'll use the Edmonton and Tampa Bay game as a good example here. I feel like people might find this interesting because, you know, when you look at Kucherov minus 500 to get a point tonight. McDavid is minus 360 to get 1 point tonight. Draisaitl minus 330. And then you look down at some of these guys to get an assist. Draisaitl minus 135 to get an assist. You've got Bouchard minus 110 to get an assist. Braden Point is plus 120 to get an assist. If we look at what his number is to record just 1 point, it's minus 200. So I think that the assist prop is something I used to be scared to bet, because you don't want to be that person that bets the assist prop and the first goal of the game, and that happened to me actually twice in the Four Nations tournament. But that's a good way of getting down to a better price. It's kind of like the prop team total for us. You know, a lot of times you're taking the point prop, but the fear is that this guy might get a goal, and so you don't want to just take the assist. But the way that they bring down the odds, Jeff, on these assist props, it's really incredible, especially these offensive defensemen. I mentioned Evan Bouchard. So Evan Bouchard, like I said, minus 145 for him to get a point, minus 110 for him to get an assist. So are we willing to risk that he won't score a goal, but he'll just get an assist to go from minus 145 to 110? I think it's worth it.
Scroller's been going the whole time, Andrew, at McInnis Picks, at Wager Talk, WT.buzz/A&M. I'll be back on your channel Friday morning. But as we always wrap up this segment, tell everyone where they can find all your information and what you got behind at wagertalk.com.
Yeah, $5 Tuesday. That's what we still have going here. We also have 7 days of picks for $69 is a really good deal right now. Or excuse me, 10 days of picks for the cost of 7. So we're throwing in an extra 3 days at Wager Talk. No promo code, coupon code needed. Get 10 days for the price of 7. But yeah, I got my NHL play up for $5 today. You guys can get over at Wager Talk. Regular pricing is $25 on these plays. But as you and I always preach, if anybody wants to join me longer term, whether it be 7 days, 30 days, or the rest of the season, feel free to reach out to me at McInnis Picks. I appreciate the logo being there. I got to get that for you on Fridays. We'll get there. But other than that, good to be back here with you, Jeff. My first show, the voice is hanging on a little bit. You can tell I was doing my screaming at the game, but it's good to be back with you.
It's great to have you back. Have an amazing week. We'll be talking. I'll catch you on the Sports Grid tonight, Andrew.
Okay, sounds good, Jeff. Thank you.
Take care. Andrew McInnis, go follow him at McInnis Picks at Wager Talk. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, the NCAA Insiders, 4 in a box. That's right. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 in a box. Week 2 wrap up and week 3 midweek games. So grab yourself some sunflower seeds and we'll see you soon.
Jared, hey, we're gonna need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of the stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
That's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
We go from the Zamboni to the Diamond. So without further ado, let me see if I can do this correctly. As we'll add Mr. Matt Grissom, Mr. Quentin Mills, and Mr. Nick Hathco. What's up, gents?
Good afternoon, Jeffrey.
Good morning.
Little midweek madness, Mr. Dawson.
You know, it's surviving advances. On Saturday, we flipped the calendar. It's March 1st, of course, March Madness, the rest of the college hoop season, conference championships, and then, of course, everyone's got their bracket, and they're going to figure out who's going to get to the Final Four. guys, we've already had 2 full weeks of college baseball. And if I should start having my producers grab the timelines from all the people that we follow here, as every pitch, it's like we're already into Omaha, and you're scratching your heads like, guys, what the hell is going on? Matt, weekend number 2, give us a recap. What the hell is going on with some of these teams?
I don't know. Kansas State really surprised me. They were 1-4, I think, coming into Arlington, and then get the sweep, go 3-0 against Arkansas, Michigan, and then TCU. I think we're just seeing a lot of inconsistencies in pitching staffs here early on in the season. I think the top teams like Virginia, Oregon State, they really struggled. This past weekend, I think Oregon State dropped 2, Virginia dropped another one. I don't know if it's weather. I don't know if it's just being cold. Not really sure what the problem is with the big boys, but you really can't say the same thing for a couple other teams. You look at Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU. Yeah, LSU lost the game to Omaha, but still at the end of the day, they're playing at an elite level. I think Tennessee, Florida, above everybody else. If you saw the graphic I put out yesterday, they're just really clicking on all cylinders. So weird season so far.
Q?
Yeah, I'll kind of jump on that with using the Tennessee and Florida versus the other teams. So I think Tony Vitello as well as Kevin O'Sullivan, like they take these midweeks to heart, and they take these weekends to heart with maybe what people would consider down years for them. Nick and I kind of went back and forth, like the Tennessee pitching staff, I'm a little more down on than he was. A lot of people were down on Florida this year. The ceiling is high for talent. It's just whether they can do it. Last year, Florida struggled. And this year, it's kind of like, let's make a statement. Let's be the Florida Gators that everybody remembers. And then Tony Vitello has something to prove again of, hey, just because Florida was the last team in 2018 to actually make it back to the College World Series as the reigning champs, let's go ahead and break that record too while we're at it, like we did last year with the number 1 seed. When you look at A&M, you look at LSU, like they've dropped those games to Cal Poly and to Omaha. And at some point, we understand teams will lose. It's a 60-game schedule. It's going to happen. But it just seems like they're sleepwalking through some of these teams, and they're getting caught, in a moment. Now, they obviously LSU turned it back on in the second game and obliterated them. But the point is Tennessee and Florida aren't sleeping through these games. The other powerhouse teams are. And then you kind of allude to Matt, like the pitching is suspect. For Oregon State, I mean, outside of their starters, their bullpen is atrocious right now. And then you look at UVA; they have so much power on offense. Nobody's hitting the ball. Like you just can't really put an answer to the question because none of us saw it. And when I say none of us, I don't think the entire college baseball family tree saw it with these teams. So what I did see, Jeff, is you might want to go take a look at UConn's baseball practice and make sure they know how to do home run trots because it's pretty bad to go from a home run to an out on your own self-doing. I would say that's kind of like an own goal situation in soccer. We got to get back to the base running basics. So I did see that, and I had to friendly jab at you about your Huskies.
Listen, I'm starting to turn to the baseball team a lot quicker than usual because Hurley and the basketball team is in a world of hurt. That's for another show, of course. Nick, what'd you say?
Yeah, I think I'll touch on this because we talked about it on Friday. I think the SEC kind of even made the gap even bigger compared to the ACC. And maybe not the top because we talked about how good the top is. North Carolina looks like a top 3 team in the country right now. I think Virginia's had their issues, but I'm not sure if there's somebody we're worried about. Florida State looks like they've reloaded pretty well. Let's see what the offense looks like against like better competition. But the middle of the SEC, because you look at what Auburn did against Wright State, who's probably going to win their conference. You look at what Mississippi State sweeping Missouri State, who's the favorite to win in Missouri Valley. And then you look at Vandy sweeping a very good St. Mary's team who came from the West Coast. So kind of those middle teams around like where we thought they'd be like 8-12 in the SEC look very good. And then, you look at the ACC with NC State has problems right now. Like, I'm not sure what that, like, we know like they have one of the best bullpens in the country. Like, there's no doubt about that. But if you're not ahead in those games, that doesn't really make a difference. And then, yeah, Duke getting 10-run ruled by an Ivy League school on Friday is yikes. Like, I know we touched about them last week. I mean, they rebounded well, won their last two, but there's still issues there. Notre Dame played well. I will say that, like, if Notre Dame can actually be good for the ACC, that's kind of massive. Because they went down to Florida and I believe won 2 out of 3 or maybe 3. So that was impressive there. But yeah, I think the SEC, we saw that separated themselves, especially in the middle, from the ACC.
Yeah. Just sorry to touch on that because I feel like I'm the
Alabama. That's right. Yeah.
SEC guy being down here in Arkansas. The teams that you didn't even think were going to be very good, like Auburn, Alabama, Vanderbilt.
Ole Miss.
They are. Ole Miss. Yeah. Just everybody is lighting it up. I think the SEC went 15-1 on Saturday. Just
did Missouri lose?
Huh?
Did Missouri lose?
No.
Oh, I thought they'd be the one.
Oh, I think Friday. It was Friday. Arkansas was the only one.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Matt, two-part question. Big injury for A&M. How does that hurt them moving forward? And two, it's a weekly topic, so I don't know if I need to get it tattooed here. 2 weeks in, Arkansas in the offense. Are you getting nervous?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get the first question out of the way. Grahovac being out, I don't think it matters much. I think they're going to be able to shift everybody over and make up for it. Obviously, when you lose somebody that is, I think, a preseason All-SEC guy, though, it's going to hurt, but that team is so loaded that I don't think it's really going to matter much in the stat line at the end of the day. And then a stat line that does worry me. It's Arkansas. It's Arkansas hitting. Once again, Nate Thompson, our hitting coach, everybody's calling for his head. It's just inexcusable. But thank God for the pitching staff. We saw it a lot last year. It's the same kind of deal. But not just hitting. It was like base running. We couldn't base run. We send a guy from trying to stretch it to third, get thrown out for a final out. You don't ever want to do that. It's just boneheaded things you cannot have. I hope that we can get it cleaned up. Vahiva Aloy has been, and his brother have just been so much better than what we anticipated. But then there's other guys. Do what?
They have a third or fourth brother we can insert.
Right? Yeah. Do they have like a cousin or a nephew? Yeah. But you've got guys that have it. They did it in the Cape Cod League, like Ryder Helfrich, who's just kind of disappeared. Charles Davlin, who had a pretty good OPS last year, comes over and he's been an absolute no-show. Same with Rocco Pepe. I think he had a 1,500 OPS last season. He's back. He was batting leadoff. He got benched in the second game forward in Arlington. So there's guys there that could get it done. They're just not producing. And thankfully, Kendall Diggs was on that list, but then I think he got a big hit in the 8th or 9th against TCU, or the 8th against TCU, and then he got another good hit on Sunday, but he wasn't looking good over the weekend either. Helfrich, like I said, he led the Cape Cod League with Vahiva Aloy in home runs. Just he's been a complete no-show so far.
Hugh, your week or midweek Gator report.
Big game today. Stetson's a good program. They are without one of their better players in Jaden Hilton. I think they're going to hold him out to the weekend, so that's good news for Florida. But Stetson fans show out. It's a rowdy environment. Last year, Stetson beat them at home. I've got to think Sully has written that score all over the scoreboard, all over the facilities. Again, he made midweeks an emphasis for this team because I think they won like 2 out of 10 last year, and that's a point of contention. Pitching, I think this year, like it's looked really good. Again, I'll be realistic. It's against bad competition, but they're doing what they're supposed to, similar to Tennessee. We'll get our ultimate, are these guys legit or not, through the next few weekends. They have a big series against Miami, which Miami's not the greatest, but it is a rivalry game and anything can happen. So it's a big spot for the young Gators. But I really like their midweek situation. Last year, they were throwing all these freshmen, trying to see what they had. Could they be a starter? Are they a bullpen guy? Can they handle the pressure? This year, they have Billy Barlow. He started a little rocky in the first inning, loaded the bases up. I think gave two early runs up, but then he kind of settled down for innings 2 and 3. I think he's going to have a much better start this time. I think he's comfortable. You get that, first start for Sully and the Gators out of the way, the nerves. I think he's going to go out and throw pretty well for them. And he's a senior. So, to have a senior pitching on midweeks, just the mentality of playing ACC baseball for 3 years, coming into SEC, tough midweeks against teams like South Florida, Stetson, they're good teams. I think his composure and his experience is going to help a lot for the Gator midweeks this year. So I'm excited to see that.
Nick, your midweek Tennessee ball report.
Yeah, I think it's got to be, we'll touch on the pitching staff. I know Q mentioned that he was a little bit down. I mean, I was not down, but there were so many question marks coming into the year what Tennessee's pitching staff would look like. Liam Doyle, I know Matt touched on him last Friday, who was sitting basically 89-93 last year at Ole Miss and his freshman year as well at Ole Miss. To see him, and Frank Anderson is obviously, something has clicked, whether it's mechanically, whether it's something, just the pitching lab they're using is impressive because now he's touching 99, and that changes the game for him. A lefty throwing 99, sitting basically 95, 97 is impressive. And then you bring in, so what they're going to do, and Tony Vitello and Frank Anderson love to do this, where they piggyback kind of one guy to the second, and on Fridays they try to just throw 2 guys for the most part, and it looks like that's going to be Liam Doyle first, and then followed by Tanner Franklin, who is a transferred in from Kennesaw State, and he's also 99 to 100 from the right side. So it's one of those where it's here you go, you get a lefty at 99, then you get a righty at 99 to 100, and that's your Friday. And then Marcus Phillips is still a question mark on Saturdays as a starter. I mean, he's massive. He's very Kumar Rocker-like, if you remember him from Vandy from a few years ago. He's actually an inch taller and I think 15 pounds heavier, and throws just as hard. He's another guy that throws 98 to 100. It's just say it out loud. With Frank Anderson, it's all right, here comes another guy throwing just heat. So he's been impressive so far, and we'll see what they're going to do on Sundays. They started Nate Snead last Sunday. I mean, obviously threw well. And then they switched it to Brandon Arvidsson, who was a JUCO transfer, for this Sunday, and threw Nate Snead out of the pen on Saturday. And that could have just been one of those, because it was a close game Saturday, was against Samford, who we said going into it was a pretty good team. That was kind of the close game. So I'm not sure if that was just the plan to go with Snead after him, or because it was close. Hey, let's go with our most reliable arm out of the bullpen. But they've been impressive. And then this midweek, I'll touch on it again, is, like I said before, the freshmen have came in just on fire. I mean, Manny Marin has been started at third, I think 3 games. Levi Clark, if you don't know the name, learn the name. He was the number 2 catcher in the country last year, was supposed to be a first or second round draft pick out of high school, decided to sign with Tennessee and stay committed. He's got 3 home runs already, and I think 11 or 12 at bats. He's not even their everyday catcher. Obviously with Cannon Peebles in your way, that's kind of a tough one, but he's been DHing in 2 pinch hit home runs this weekend, 1 massive grand slam. And then just Jay Abernathy is another one that's very, very exciting. Might be the fastest guy in the country. He comes I think he stole 5 bases this weekend and only started in 1 game. So it's just impressive. I want to see these young guys keep developing. I mean, they get North Alabama today, so it should be another game where we probably see Tony V play 15, 16 guys, because I think it should get pretty ugly. But yeah, I think I'm very high on, like I said, I'm very impressed with how this Tennessee team has played. And I know I was high on them coming into the season, but I think they've even exceeded my expectations.
All right, we're going to go to a quick 2-second commercial break. When we come back, we'll go right around the on-deck circle here for your thoughts for the midweek games, any games that you got in pocket already, any games that you're looking at, any releases. So stay tuned. Matt, we'll start with you, sir.
A team that I'm not counting on winning, so tread lightly with this bet. But VMI, the Keydets, plus 510 against Virginia. We've already seen Virginia struggle. VMI is one of the most well-balanced teams. If you saw the graphic we put out yesterday, They are ranked in the top 20 in both Sierra for the team and weighted runs created plus. So I think it's worth a sprinkle at plus 510. We don't have run lines out yet, but if you can get them plus 4.5, 5.5, I think VMI is a live dog here. That's really the only one that I'm looking at until some run lines start popping. I think you can't go wrong with a couple money line parlays with these SEC teams. It's just a lot of juice right now.
Q.
Yeah, I think so there's a few teams I think are great parlay pieces. I think it's TCU coming back home after losing 2 straight. I think Texas A&M's in a really good spot to bounce back. I'm sure Mike Early didn't take kind to Cal Poly beating them 3-2. And then, believe it or not, I think Duke is a good piece. I think Duke responded well. They lost the Friday night game, and then they just beat the brakes off of Cornell. I think it was 18-2 Saturday and 16-2 Sunday, or vice versa. This is a game. I hate to say it 5 games into the season, but this almost feels like playoff mentality for Duke because of the situation they've put themselves in. Campbell is god-awful this year. They gave up 14 runs to Santa Barbara, who we said's offense is atrocious to start the season. Duke has the ability to just beat the brakes off of Campbell, and I expect them to come out with a win today because it's not they want to win. It's a necessity, and I think they're starting to understand that these small schools, they can't just continue to rack up losses. They're not Florida Gators by any means and can go 500 and make an Omaha appearance. So I think they're a great piece.
Nick.
Yeah, I'll put a couple teams that we already mentioned on a little bit of an upset alert. I mean, we talked about Mississippi State. They've got Troy coming in. Troy, obviously ranked team, possibly the best team in the Sun Belt. And now, and we talked about how much these kind of mid majors, like I hate to say Sun Belt's a mid major because it's not, but they're just not known as big. And now they play well in these midweek games because they matter so much for their RPI at the end of the year. So if this is a Troy team who wants to host and be possible host in NCAA tournament time, this is the game that would really go a long way in helping that with the RPI. Staying in the same state, Southern Miss at Ole Miss. Southern Miss has looked very, very good so far. I think I was expecting them to have a little bit more of a drop off this year. We're 6-1. I believe, only losses to Louisiana Tech, who's another very good mid-major team. So no shame in that one. And this is, like I said, it's another one they take very seriously. And Q mentioned A&M. I'm going to put them on a little bit of upset watch. I'm not using A&M as a parlay just because of the offense right now. Something's up. I don't know what it is because the talent. If you just individually picked one piece basically up and down their lineup, you'd think this team would just be mashing. And now they get a Texas State team who, remember last Tuesday, beat Oklahoma State. So this team it's a very good Sun Belt team again that knows how to play in midweeks. They take these games very serious. And I know Mike Early is probably not happy with losing to Cal Poly, who's not any good, but it's still one of those. It's one of those to watch out for, just because of how talented Texas State is as well.
Well, I love our midweek spots here. This is like a warm-up till Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, when you guys are back for the Friday Night Lights and, of course, the weekends there. As we always wrap up this segment, I'll go right around the horn. Matt, where do they find all your work?
collegebaseballinsiders.com. Awesome website, absolutely free. Go check that out. And then I'm at Grissom on X. And I want to say for Power 5 or Power 4 conferences, there are 7 pitchers from the SEC that are all ranked in the top in Sierra. Starting off with Liam Doyle, Pico Cone for Mississippi State, Charlie Goldstein with Georgia. And then you've got Matthew Becker with South Carolina, Pierce Capalla with Florida, Gage Wood for Arkansas, and Kyson Witherspoon to round out the top 10. That is hella impressive for what's the best conference in baseball right now.
Q.
At Q Millie on Twitter, 3 L's, 2 Y's at NCAA Insiders for all your graphics, all your updates, and friendly banter about college baseball.
And last but never least, Mr. Nick Hathcote.
Yeah, in Hathcote 413 on X. It's where I talk most and kind of do most of the stuff that is kind of what we do, NCAA Insiders related. And then also follow us on our Discord. Free to join. I believe it's on at least my page. I know it's on our NCAA Insiders page where you can just click the link, It's a good place to talk to us, good place to talk to. I know through this weekend, the thing was live and people were talking pretty much all day, every day about college baseball. So if you're a college baseball fan, it's a great place to talk to other college baseball fans about just the most random games that people are just watching. So it's a really good resource for everybody.
And last, I'll throw the soft lob. VIP plays, where to get them?
Go to collegebaseballinsiders.com/clubhouse. You can join there.
There you go. Matt Grissom, Quentin Mills, Nick Hathco, we can't thank you enough. Love our midweek show here. Have a great week. And then we'll catch you back on Friday, 11 a.m. How's that?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right. Behave yourself, gentlemen.
Thanks, Jeff.
That's the NCAA Insiders, Matt Grissom, Quentin Mills, Nick Hathco. Go follow them. Midweek specials going on as we speak, and then they'll be back Friday for some Friday Night Lights here at 11 a.m. Quick commercial break, and when we come back, I will wrap it up. Stay tuned. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Great show here to start the week off on Tuesdays. Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks at Wager Talk, talking recap of the Four Nations tournament. He was live at the Garden, and of course, talking some NHL. You can go follow him at McInnis Picks and get all his work at Wager Talk. And then, of course, Four Men in a Box. Nick Hathco, Matt Grissom, Quentin Mills, talking college baseball like no others. Go follow them at NCAA Insiders, and of course, all on their Twitter feed there. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., Brady Cannon back. PGA, the Cognizant tournament there, the Honda Classic, I guess they used to call it there. They'll be here at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then from there, it is Wednesday around 5 o'clock. Riley Magnuson and I will be back for the closing bell. Thursday, 11 a.m. Good question. No, actually, Tyler Wyatt will be back here as Wednesday. He is back from playing poker. So everyone, behave yourselves, enjoy yourselves, and we will see you soon. Stay tuned.